Let's hear a little bit more from Sean Payton about why now, and listen for clues as to whether or not he could indeed be lured back to coaching sooner than later, or maybe not. Here he is from yesterday on why he's made the decision to walk away now.
I just felt like this season it was challenging for everyone. But man, I felt like it was time. I felt like it was time. I kind of knew maybe heading into training camp this might, but you don't share that with anyone. You think, well, let's see how the season goes, and we're working hard, and I felt the time was right for me. I felt the time was right, and it's something that I've been thinking about. I think that, look, you have close friends in the industry. I've lost a few close friends in this industry in the last 2 or 3 years. And also, forget football. There's other things, spending more time. There's a lot of sacrifices you make. And so not many get to choose their terms. And I looked at it as an opportunity also to see my kids more, to travel some more, to get in better shape. There's an attrition 2 a.m, and I know I hear people say, well, you don't have, yeah, I get it, but I need to. That's the way it works for me. And I think the attention to details are so important that it can be exhausting. And so I felt, as this season was winding down, that it was the right thing. And then the last week and a half, yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, it sounds like he needs a break from the grind.
Definitely.
Staying up till 2 o'clock, the attention to detail, what we talked about earlier. How much am I putting in? How much am I getting out? At a certain level, that's a fair analysis. How much am I putting in? How much am I getting out? And is there a way that I can put in the same or less and get out more and still be in the same general industry? And you think about it. Some of these guys go to media and they realize, I'm not nearly as stressed. I have time to work out. I don't have my fate hinge on whether some dumbass wearing black and white stripes can see what's happening right in front of him. All due respect to the dumbasses out there who wear black and white stripes. I'm kidding. I'm doing a bit here.
You wear them on Thursdays.
I'm not saying that all referees are dumbasses or that any referees are dumbasses, but you kind of know it when you see it. I'm not tied to the weather. I'm not tied to the weird bounce of a ball or whether or not somebody that I've given a clear assignment to executes it in the moment. You can't control what happens to you as a coach of a football team. Ultimately, you take that off the table.
But you think you can, and you grind to do it, and that's
right,
where
and it drives you crazy.
It drives you crazy.
It drives you crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
And media won't see. I think I look at it this way. All right, let me tell the Jerry Jones, Sean Payton story, and then I'll tell you what I think Jerry Jones should do.
Okay.
3 years ago, Friday is the anniversary of when it all fell apart. But and the context is amazing. Cowboys made it to the playoffs. They made it to the divisional round. They lost to the Rams. The Rams beat the Saints in the uncalled pass interference game a week later.
Right.
In the aftermath of that game, following that loss to the Rams, where all hell broke loose publicly, privately, the Cowboys were shooting their shot. The Cowboys tried to get Sean Payton. And look, this is the reality. Backroom deals get done. We believe this all the time. We just rarely have any tangible evidence of it. But Jason Garrett was the coach of the Cowboys. Jason Garrett hadn't been fired, and he wasn't going to be fired unless Jerry Jones knew he was getting Sean Payton.
Right.
So they had it lined up behind the scenes for whatever the compensation was going to be. And I don't know what the compensation was going to be. If I knew, I'd say so. I don't know what the compensation was going to be. But the Cowboys were going to compensate the Saints for the right to talk to Sean Payton about becoming the coach, and Payton was going to take the job. It was all lined up. The procedure is officially and formally, you have a vacancy, you're doing your search, you contact a team about what the compensation would be if you were to hire their coach. You reach a deal, then you have permission to talk to the coach about hiring him. He's not supposed to know anything about it until then. I mean, come on, how impractical
stupid.
is that?
Right,
yeah,
right.
Of course he's going to know. You're not going to even start the conversation unless you know the guy wants the job.
Right.
And then you talk to the guy and you hire him, and then it gets done. This was all ready to go. It was going to happen. So what would have happened was Jason Garrett would have been fired, and we would have been like, wow, who's the next coach going to be? And they would have done their search, and then all of a sudden the Cowboys would have traded for Sean Payton. That's what would have happened. And it was going to happen. The launch code was going to be activated until Anthony Davis, then with the Pelicans, made it clear he wasn't going to re-sign with the team and he wanted to be traded. And Mickey Loomis, who was the VP of basketball operations for the Pelicans at the time, and was and still is the GM of the Saints, said to Sean, I can't, I'm sorry, I can't do this now. I can't be the guy that presides over Anthony Davis leaving and Sean Payton leaving and it all happening at the same time.
Yeah, right. That's tough.
I can't do it.
Right.
Sorry, I can't do it.
Right.
And later that year, Payton signed an extension with the Saints, and 3 years later, here we are. And it confirms that there would be intense interest by Jerry Jones to have Sean Payton, but also to the extent that Sean Payton gets a taste of life outside of coaching and gets a deal with Caesars or FanDuel or DraftKings or whoever that pays him $30 million a year, right? Before that happens, you better make your move, Jerry. Speak now, forever hold your peace. Don't wait a year. You want to make this happen? Make it happen now. Look, don't think it's going to happen a year from now, because a year from now, Sean Payton may be saying, "Screw that, I'm making $30 to $40 million a year. I got all these incentives and bonuses, and why would I want to trade? My life is great. I've lost 40 pounds. I feel great. I'm back into CrossFit. Life is great. I'm getting a lot of sleep. I'm not obsessed with things I can't control. I'm not dreading game days anymore. This is great. This is great.
Right.
Sorry, Jerry. You had your chance last year. Sorry. This year, there's a new Sean. There's a new Sean in town. And new Sean realizes, I ain't going back to that crap.
No,
I almost said the other word.
I hear you. I think there will be a period of time that's like that where he's going to think it's great. But like in your heart of hearts, and I know you've talked to Sean Payton a few times, and you know a few people that know him too.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Well, I just figured you'd meet him at the Super Bowl and stuff. No,
okay. We've interviewed him. We've interviewed him multiple times. We know him.
So what I'm saying is just like, well, do you really think though, after a year or two in that business, that Sean Payton won't be itching to get back? Like I don't see that. I know. I mean, I understand all you're saying.
I thought the same thing about Bill Cowher.
Okay, I hear you. I look at Sean Payton as being a level up of psycho than Bill Cowher, and that's a lot to say because Bill Cowher is a psycho too, a different way of psycho, emotional middle linebacker psycho. But I hear you. I don't know. I just don't see it in the cards for him. Just the way he answered those questions, saying he still has a vision for his football life and some of that conversation there, that still tells me he has things that he'd like to accomplish. I'm sure, of course, winning another Super Bowl would be the top of the list, knowing that, just like a quarterback, once you've won 2 Super Bowls as a head coach, you're in a little bit of a different stratosphere. Listen, if I'm with you, Mike, and the fact of, if I'm the Cowboys, I'd shoot my shot right now too. I would. I'd call Sean or the Saints and the Benson family, say, hey, here's a first rounder, here's a second rounder, give me Sean Payton, let's see what we can do and see what happens. If that doesn't work, I think at the very least, like if he sits out a year or maybe 2, and I don't know how impatient Jerry was, maybe Jerry is, you gauge what happens in Dallas. Maybe it does start to fall apart. Trade compensation, I would think, would become less with every year he's away from the Saints. So he's going to have options is what I'm saying. And I could see it going either way. I could see Dallas making an offer that he can't refuse and going there right now. I could see him taking a year or 2 and then reevaluating the landscape. And, if something happens in Dallas or they're not happy, him being there or somewhere else. I just can't see him out of the game for too long. I don't see it with him. I don't.
I don't disagree with that conceptually. And, I'm reminded of occasions where Bill Cowher almost came back. If Woody Johnson would have been willing to fire Mike Tannenbaum a decade or so ago, it would have been Bill Cowher's coach of the Jets.
Right.
Cowher wanted to bring in his own people. And, Jerome Bettis always said that the Giants is the job that Cowher always wanted. And it just never worked out. And he got to the point where he realized, there's a different way to live your life and still be in the game and still have some significance and have a role and have a voice. And I think Sean Payton could have a hell of a voice. I think he would be an extremely influential and entertaining voice if that's what he chooses to do. But if he gets the itch again 2 or 3 years from now, the window may be closed. It may not. That's the point. It would be somebody else. If the Cowboys, my thought is that the Cowboys are ever going to get him, they need to move heaven and earth to get him now. They need to blow the curve now. They need to offer him the 30 to 40 million per year that he may end up stumbling into with one of these sports books now. That's, I don't plan to coach in 2022, right? There's a lot of things I don't plan to do either, but if somebody offers me $40 million a year to do it, I'm doing it. So so I think that is the reality, and it doesn't take a genius to figure it out, which qualifies us to kick it around. If Jerry Jones is ever going to get Sean Payton, he's never going to have a better chance than right now. It's only going to get harder as time passes and Sean Payton adjusts to a new life and maybe wants to have 2 or 3 years of it before he ventures back to the NFL. And he's keenly aware, as is every coach who's ever won a Super Bowl, of the fact that no coach has won a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. And I think, you want a ticket to the Hall of Fame. That's your ticket to the Hall of Fame.
That is your ticket to the Hall of Fame. That would be certainly something he could put on his resume that, like you said, nobody else has. We'll see. I hate to see him go. I really do. I love watching Sean Payton coach football teams. Even this year, just to tell how brilliant the guy is. First off, has the right people on the staff, the right players, does all of that. But, we don't have Drew Brees. We can't throw for 300 yards a game. We'll run the ball. We'll play defense. We'll have these unbelievable game plans on that side of the ball, too. It shows you what kind of a coach he is. Doesn't matter. It really, I still look at the Saints and go, they would have made the playoffs if Jameis Winston doesn't get hurt. I don't know if it would have been pretty, but I think they would have made it. Like you talked about earlier, it was very close to begin with. And they do it because of his versatility and ability to coach different ways, and he proved that this year. He's definitely one of the best coaches of our era. I hope he comes back. I really does, for our sake.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.